The test result trembled in his hands. Those 2 words on the paper were about to destroy his entire 20-year life. Not the father. Michael was 45 years old, married, happy, a successful tech executive. Or so he thought. But now, the DNA test result in his hands was making him question everything he knew. His daughter, Emily, was 19 years old. A senior at Stanford University, the love of his life, his only reason to live, or so he believed. But the truth was far more painful. Michael and Sarah had married 22 years ago with great love. Both were young, excited, and full of dreams about the future. Sarah was a beautiful, elegant woman. Michael was a hard-working, ambitious software engineer. The first years were perfect. They started life in a small apartment in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. Michael worked day and night, while Sarah turned their apartment into a home. They were deeply attached to each other. Their first big fight was about having children. Michael said he wasn't ready yet. "Let's wait a bit longer. Let's stabilize our financial situation first," he would say. But Sarah wanted a baby. Her friends were becoming mothers one by one, and she wanted to experience that happiness too. The arguments grew increasingly intense. Sarah cried. Michael went silent. One night, Sarah screamed, "You don't love me! You don't want to have a child with me!" That night, Michael ignored his crying wife for the first time. He was making excuses to focus on his project at the office. The distance between them kept growing. 3 years later, Sarah unexpectedly became pregnant. When she told Michael, the expression on his face was a strange mixture. Was it surprise, fear, or joy? Sarah couldn't quite tell. "Are you sure?" Michael had asked. "Yes, I took 2 tests, both positive," Sarah said, with happiness sparkling in her eyes. Michael smiled, but the smile seemed forced. "That's great news," he said, but his voice sounded hollow. Michael was very busy during that period. He was about to sign a major deal at his tech startup. He couldn't be there for Sarah much during her pregnancy. He didn't even attend most of the doctor's appointments. Sarah grew lonelier each day. As her belly grew, so did her loneliness. When her due date came, Michael wasn't at the hospital. He was out of state at a conference. Her mother was by her side, following the birth. When Emily came into the world, Michael hadn't arrived at the hospital yet. When Michael arrived at the hospital, everything was over. He saw his baby for the first time through the glass. With her tiny reddish face and curly hair, Emily was beautiful. Something changed inside Michael at that moment. When he held the baby in his arms, something broke inside his heart. When that tiny being looked at him, Michael felt completely different. "I will never leave you alone," he whispered to Emily, and he truly didn't. Michael became a perfect father. During sleepless nights, diaper changes, first steps, first words, he was there for every moment. Did the distance between him and Sarah close? No. In fact, it grew even wider. But Michael didn't care anymore. Emily was there. His daughter had become more important than everything. As Emily grew, Michael began to notice something. His daughter didn't look like him at all. Her hair color was different. Her eye color was different. Facial features, hands, body structure, nothing matched. At first, he attributed these to coincidences. "She takes after her mother," he would say. But Emily didn't really look much like Sarah either. Relatives noticed this too. One day, his mother-in-law said laughingly, "Who knows who the little girl takes after? She doesn't look like you at all." Michael's stomach churned at that moment. As the years passed, these thoughts grew stronger. When Emily reached high school age, Michael sometimes felt like a stranger when looking at his daughter, but he tried to push these thoughts out of his mind. Stop being ridiculous. She's your daughter, he told himself. When Emily was 18, Sarah was diagnosed with cancer. Pancreatic cancer, one of the most merciless types. The doctors didn't give much hope. Michael's world collapsed. Everything suddenly became meaningless. Work, money, success, none of it mattered anymore. Sarah was melting away rapidly. Her strong, beautiful wife was getting thinner every day. Her hair was falling out, her skin turning yellow. Michael started spending every second by her side. Topics they hadn't discussed for years were being talked about. Things they hadn't said for years were being said. One night, when they were alone in the hospital, Sarah started talking. "Michael, I need to tell you something." Her voice was very weak. Michael moved closer, held her hand. "Tell me, honey, whatever you want." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I loved you so much, know that. But I made a huge mistake." Michael's heart raced. "What mistake? What are you saying?"
Sarah started crying. "When I was pregnant with Emily, you were so distant. I was alone every day. I thought you didn't love me, that you didn't want a child with me." Michael's palms began to sweat. "During that time, I ran into an old friend. It was David Chen, a high school friend. We bumped into each other on the street by chance. He offered to get coffee." "Sarah," Michael said, but his wife continued. "It started as just friendly meetings, but he listened to me, Michael. You never listened. I talked about my pregnancy, my fears, my dreams. He showed interest." Michael's hands started trembling. "One night, just one night, I felt so bad about myself. You were out of town again. He was by my side and—" "Stop!" Michael shouted. "Don't say it!" But Sarah continued. "It was a few weeks before I got pregnant with Emily. Maybe that night? Maybe—" "No," Michael said. "No, no, no!" "I'm not sure, Michael. I could never be sure. But every time I looked at Emily, when I saw she didn't look like you—" Sarah died 3 days later. Michael organized the funeral, accepted condolences, hosted guests. But his mind was always on that confession. Emily was crying, tears streaming down at her mother's funeral. Michael looked at his daughter and thought, "Is she really my daughter?" This thought was killing him. He couldn't sleep at night looking at Emily's baby photos, comparing them with his own childhood photos, looking for similarities, but he couldn't find any. One day he couldn't take it anymore. He ordered a DNA test kit online. He collected Emily's hair strands, took his own saliva sample, secretly sent the package, and waited. The result came via email. Michael was at his office in downtown Seattle. When he saw the email, his hands started shaking. He couldn't open it. He was afraid. "What if she's not my daughter?" he thought. "Then what?" But he had to know. He clicked. The PDF opened. And he saw those 2 words, "Not the father." The words on the screen blurred. The room started spinning. Michael got up from his chair, ran to the bathroom, and threw up. 20 years. He had been a father for 20 years. Every night he had told bedtime stories. He had put ointment on every wound. He had wiped away every tear. And she wasn't his daughter.
From that day on, Michael became a different person. He tried to act normal around Emily, but he couldn't. There was distance in every look, every word. Emily noticed. "Dad, did something happen? Are you mad at me?" "No, honey, I'm just tired," Michael would say, but he couldn't look her in the eyes. He thought about it until dawn every night. What should I do? Should I tell her? What happens if she knows? She's innocent. On the other hand, he was angry at Sarah. Even though she was dead, he was still angry at her. How could she do this to me? How could she hide it for 20 years? And that man, David, he didn't even know who he was, his daughter's real father. One day, while going through Sarah's old belongings, Michael found a notebook. Inside was David Chen's phone number. He stared at that paper for hours. Should I call? He wondered. Finally, he gathered his courage and called. The phone rang for a long time. Finally, a male voice answered. Hello? Is this David Chen? Yes, speaking. Who is this? I'm Michael, Sarah's husband. Well, more accurately, ex-husband. She died. A long silence from the other end. I know, David said. I heard. My condolences. I need to talk to you, Michael said. Another silence. About what? About Emily. This time, the silence lasted much longer. Let's meet, David finally said. They met at a Starbucks in Fremont. David was a middle-aged, ordinary-looking Asian-American man. He was married with 2 children. I knew, David said. When Sarah told me she was pregnant, that night came to mind, but we weren't sure. And I was married. She was with you. But now, I took a DNA test. Emily isn't my daughter. David lowered his head. I'm sorry, but I haven't taken a test either. I'm not sure. Take one, Michael shouted. People in the coffee shop turned to look. What will change? David said. That girl knows you as her father. She's been with you for 20 years. I'm a stranger to her. But she has the right to know her real father. What if she doesn't want to know?
Emily participated in a blood drive campaign at Stanford. A blood type test was done, AB-RH positive. When she came home, she excitedly told him, "Dad, my blood type is AB positive. It's a rare type." Michael froze. He was A-RH positive. Sarah was O-RH positive. He knew biology. It was genetically impossible for an AB child to be born from A and O blood types. Emily got curious, too. "Dad, what's your blood type?" "A positive," Michael said. "Mom?" She was O positive. Emily thought for a few seconds. Then she took out her phone and searched on Google. Her face turned pale. "Dad, this isn't possible. You can't have an AB child from A and O blood types." Michael swallowed. Maybe there was an error in the tests, but Emily was suspicious now. After that night, Emily started researching. She looked at old photos, paid attention to family resemblances, and began to see the truth. One day she confronted Michael. "Dad, tell me the truth. I'm not your daughter, am I?" Michael's eyes filled with tears. "Emily, tell me. This is my right. Biologically, no. But you're my daughter, Emily, for 20 years. "Lies!" Emily shouted. "It was all lies. Mom lied. You knew and didn't tell me." "I just found out, too. Your mom told me before she died." Emily started crying. "So who's my real father? Where is he?" Michael gave her David Chen's contact information. Emily called him. They met. When David saw his daughter, his eyes filled with tears. "You've become so beautiful," he said. "Are you my father?" Emily asked. "I don't know. I haven't taken a test, but it's possible." "Let's take a test." 2 weeks later, the result came. 99.9% match. Father-daughter. Emily now knew she had 2 fathers. Michael felt like he was losing his daughter. Emily no longer called him Dad. She called him Michael. She had started meeting with David, had met his family, had a new life. When Michael came home, Emily wasn't there anymore. She had moved to the dorms with the excuse of university, but the real reason was obvious. One day, Emily came to collect her things.
Emily, please, let's talk. About what? About 20 years of lies? I always loved you, even if I'm not your biological father. But you're not, Emily shouted. You never were. Everything was a lie. And she walked out the door. Now I sit here, in an empty house in Seattle. My daughter is gone. My wife is dead. My 20-year life turned out to be a lie. But I know this. She was always my daughter. Even without a blood connection, we had a heart connection.